people making a lot of money, but it was also a complete and total fraud. He comes out of that company and he landed in Long Island with me. And I thought this guy was very funny because he was insane. I always loved people that the facts were irrelevant, were completely irrelevant. Like he didn't sell any mortgages and he didn't make any money from our company. But yet he would still walk around the office as if he was the CFO. Like he was the CEO. Like the guy didn't care that he wasn't. And he would say that he wasn't making money because the company sucked. Like everybody else was making money. People were making $30,000 a month. I wasn't making that, but there were people making a lot of money. And how I was like a young guy, I was like 22 or 21 and maybe even younger. And Howie was just this character that liked me immediately because I spoke well and I was good on the phone. You could put me on the phone with a client, but I would listen to Howie and the bosses would tell me, they go, don't say anything Howie says. He's a bad salesman and we probably shouldn't even have him here because he doesn't care. But it was the facts were irrelevant to him. They didn't matter because he had a condo and he had a Beamer and people were like, I think his parents paid for it. And people were like, I think he sells Coke to make that money. And people were like, yeah, but the Coke's horrible. Who's buying that? We're like, good point. So nobody knew how he had any of this money, but he didn't even have that much money, but he had enough. His friends had money. People liked to keep him around because he was crazy. I mean, he would, the company we worked for was called Franklin First. And he would call people up on the phone and say things that were so unbelievably untrue, provably untrue, baseless, that people would be like, I mean, you would call up people and you'd go, hi, this is Howie from Franklin First, Ben Franklin. And they'd go, what? People didn't even know. People would be like, did Ben Franklin start the bank? He'd go, he was involved. I mean, he said once, he's like, I'm standing in the stock exchange right now in an office overlooking the stock exchange. No, nobody even knew if that was possible. We're like, are there even offices on the second floor of the... But he was calling people in like the middle of the country who had like modular homes. Like he was just, I remember once he was trying to do a deal for this woman who had a modular home, which is essentially like a double wide on a foundation. And he had like the file and he's like, he walked to the secretary's office. He goes, what the fuck is the problem? That's the way That's the way he used to talk to our secretary, Kelly, who was just a drunk, smoked Marlboro Reds. And she goes, lower your voice. Who the fuck are you talking like that? He goes, what the fuck is the problem? He goes, I can't close a deal in this goddamn place. And Kelly goes, the woman who told you it's a modular, she goes, it's actually a double wide. So we can't do a double wide. And she'd throw the deal back at him. So then Howie would get on the phone with the woman and he'd go, hey, apparently it's a double wide. Is this true? Woman goes, no, it's a modular. And then Howie would like cover the phone and scream at the secretary and go, it's a fucking... And by the way, total commission on this, maybe $1,200, right? Maybe $1,200. But he's screaming. He's trying to cover the phone. And he goes, it's a fucking modular. I told you that. And then he'd get back on the phone with the woman, and the woman's like, I'm looking at some of the papers, and I don't have the certified modular paper. And then Howie goes, well, then it's a fucking double wide. And Howie goes, we don't do double wides. You're wasting my fucking time. And then he'd slam the phone down, and then he'd just walk out and he'd start going like this with his hands. He would just start, screaming, and then he'd just walk out of the office. He goes, nobody has any fucking money. And everyone was making money. Everybody had, but it was funny. People thought it was funny. It was like a good breakup of the day. Mm-hmm. I remember I was at his house doing blow with him once, and he goes, I want to move to Santo Domingo because they treat you like a fucking person. I'm like, I don't even know. I just started laughing. I was like, I don't even know what that means. But he was so bad at sales. Like, he didn't know any of the programs. He didn't know how to sell anybody on anything. And he would just try to refinance people that lived in like boats. He didn't care, but I just started thinking about him because I'm like, the facts were so unimportant to him. Like, if you sat down with him and you showed him, like, you're like, listen, buddy, you've closed no loans. You've made no money. He would spit in your face. Like, he'd be like, you know, fuck. He's like, you think I'm making money here? Because if I was waiting to make money here, I'd be fucking dead. Are you fucking nuts? Nobody can make any money here. The bosses would be like, everyone is making money. Everybody is making money. But he was just completely unhinged. I mean, he did, and I've told the story before, but he did one of the craziest things ever where he sat down at a closing and he said the APR, which is the annualized percentage rate, which is the cost of what the mortgage costs you with all the financing included into it. He literally looked somebody straight in the face and went, they go, why is the APR rate higher than the contract rate, the note rate, whatever? And the answer is, well, it's because it includes the cost of financing. So, but instead of saying that, he said, well, honey, that's the average person rate. And you're better than average. So we gave you a lower one. And the closing attorney called my company and goes, this guy is out of control. We can't even. But the amount of times that he would try to refinance a modular home and then find out it's a double wide, because this is a guy that talked big, steakhouses, money, coke. Right. And then he was just trying to refinance homes that people could get in and drive away. And then he would find, because to be a modular home, like, you'd hear him on the phone, he's like, yeah, we do modulars. Do you have the modular certification? And then somebody said to him, they're like, what are you, a mobile home specialist? He goes, will you shut the fuck up? I'm on the phone with a client. And he'd be like, do you have the modular paper? Can you please bring me the modular?
Oh.
I mean, but it got me thinking, what we were talking about earlier in the show is like, there are people that you'll meet in life where the statistics, the facts, the real story, what's actually happening, have no interest in it. It's like they feel about reality the way I feel about astrology. I know like a little about it and I don't really care. I see it occasionally in a magazine briefly. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's the way a lot of people feel about reality. That's the way Howie, there was this guy, Uncle Mike,